Welcome back to Watergum Online and our online catchment crawl. We're going to take you on a virtual tour of some of the most interesting and innovative environmental projects that are going on the Gold Coast right now. Right, let's get going.
G'day everyone, my name's Paul Donoghue and I work for Healthy Land and Water. Today we're here at the Darlington Nature Refuge, which is one of those amazing places and home to the incredibly rare Ormeau bottle tree. So why is the Ormeau bottle tree so special? Well, there are a number of reasons for that. One, it's got an incredibly small population size in an incredibly small area. So when it was first surveyed, we know that there were only 200 individuals or thereabouts actually found at that time. Other surveys that we've been privileged to be involved with have expanded the population to over 700 individuals. So yes, it is a very unique and rare tree. It does take a long time to get to an age where it can flower and fruit, and it's found, as I said, in a very small and unique and confined area. So we're here today at the Darlington Nature Refuge to have a look at the Ormeau bottle tree. Healthy Land and Water was very privileged to be involved in the survey work for this tree, but all the on-ground work is being done by the Northeast Albert Landcare Group.
Hi, I'm Sue from Northeast Albert Landcare Catchment Management Group, and our catchment is the Pimpama River catchment, and we have concentrated a lot of work in the upper catchment part of the Pimpama River. The primary reason being this is the home of the famous Ormeau bottle tree, and the Ormeau bottle tree is a tree that has been largely ignored until recent years. What our group has done has been to really target invasive weeds which are preventing the Ormeau bottle tree from recruiting. We can see growing on this tree a weed vine. You can see its bright red little berries. It's an abrus, commonly known as giddy giddy vine, because it will definitely make you giddy giddy if you eat any of these seeds. In fact, they are extremely toxic and you can easily die from eating these seeds. So it's not only an undesirable plant, but it's also a very dangerous plant. So here we've got another example of an invasive exotic weed. So this is lantana, and again, up until fairly recently, it was sold in garden centres and nurseries as an ornamental plant for your garden at home. In the wild, it becomes a thick, dense mass of vegetation that is almost impossible to get through, and again we can see that because it is so thick, it prevents native species from being able to recruit and grow. So a very, very big problem in our rainforest areas.
We're now right into the Darlington Nature Refuge, and what we're doing at the moment is just working along a contour line looking for the juvenile Ormeau bottle trees. Now, when we were here last, there were hundreds and hundreds of juveniles. One of the most amazing things about this tree is that it actually reproduces in this dry sclerophyll component of the forest. While the big large trees are actually in the rainforest area, all the juveniles that we found, 99% of them, are actually on this much drier edge. So what we're going to do now is continue down and have a look for the juveniles that we found in the past. So what we've done now is just come a little bit further down the slope, and what you can see here is the rainforest edge trying to expand into the dry sclerophyll forest. So you've got things like celery wood, Acronychia species, all starting to make its way out into the dry components of this forest system. So fire plays this moderating impact on the boundary of the rainforest. So with fire, the rainforest will retreat if it's too hot, and without fire, the rainforest will start to expand. So it's at this edge that we often find the juvenile bottle trees, and so this is a great example of that happening in situ.
Oh, Paul! I just heard Paul. Paul, where are you?
Just over here, Sue. There's a fantastic patch of bottle trees just here.
Oh, wow!
Okay, well, we've just come along that transect, and this is one of the juvenile Ormeau bottle trees. So fantastic, it's right where it should be, which is ironic because we're actually in a dry sclerophyll community. So one of the fascinating things about this tree is that the larger trees are in the dry rainforest over there to my left, but the juveniles we've found consistently out in this open space. So what we're seeing here is a couple of plants below what looks to be, yes, a brush box. So what we're seeing in this environment time and time again is that it seems that mid-sized birds are actually predating on the seed. They're coming out here, they're sitting in these trees, they're defecating below the trees, and what we find consistently, particularly under brush box, are these young juvenile bottle trees. So just a great example of that happening right here before us. Now the problem for the Ormeau bottle tree is that here we're in a very fire-prone environment. So this place will burn, it has burnt in the past, and unless these trees actually get larger, they won't survive even probably a relatively small or moderate fire. So again, the population of this species will fluctuate with fire, and it'll fluctuate with drought conditions as well. So one of the interesting things about the juvenile bottle trees is that we're actually a little bit unsure about how long they've actually been here. We know from the original surveys that were done just after the turn of the century that there was anywhere between 160 and 220 trees, but it didn't capture any of these juveniles. All these juveniles are actually new. Now, this one here, which is about my height, so about 1.9 meters, could have been sitting here for up to 10 years, just waiting for the right conditions to take off.
How incredible. Here's a very juvenile Ormeau bottle tree, and we can see how distinctive it is as a plant. It has a very, very strong yellow mid-vein, and look at the long narrow leaves and deeply lobed. Now as that becomes bigger, it will grow the leaves that have like 5 to 7 lobes on them, but that is incredibly beautiful. So very, very amazing find.
So what we're doing now, we've looked at the juveniles, we found that they're still here, which is fantastic. We're actually going to move right into the rainforest and find a really big one for you.
So amazing, here we've found a naturally occurring macadamia, and the macadamia again is a very rare and vulnerable species. This area is the home to so many unusual and uncommon plants, and the diversity is incredible. We can see here fishbone fern, which is a native but not necessarily native to this area, and being a very popular garden plant, often we find it's escaped and taken over large areas of bushland. The problem with it, as we can see here, is it's so dense that it's preventing any regeneration of other native species. So this would be a barrier for the Ormeau bottle tree to recruit. It's just too dense.
One of the fascinating things about this tree is that it's actually not in a gully, it's not in a gorge, it's not in an area where we'd expect the more larger population of trees to be, and they certainly are further down to my left down there. So it may be right in thinking that this is part of an older wave of expansion of these trees. Now it's probably some hundreds of years old, but it's representing exactly what we're seeing further out on the dry sclerophyll edge. When we were here last time, there was actually quite a bit of fruit on the ground. The fruit is about that size, and when it's older it's actually black. There you are, there's a remnant one right there. Now we know from discussions with botanists and ecologists that it certainly doesn't flower and fruit every year, and that's one of the reasons why it is rare. And it does have to be a certain age, Sue, for it actually to flower.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, to the best of our knowledge, the tree doesn't flower or fruit until at least 20 years of age, and after that it's very sporadic.
Unusually for this species, the flowers are actually pale green. Now most other brachychitons are quite showy, but this one is a pale green, and you can see those flowers in exposed situations. Otherwise it's a climb into the canopy.
So I hope everyone's enjoyed participating in this outing to explore a little bit more about the wonderful Ormeau bottle tree. And if you are interested in becoming involved in some on-ground work, particularly after being isolated at home due to the COVID-19 virus, there is a lot to do, and you can contact me via info@watergum.org. Thank you.
Thanks again for coming along today, folks. It's been a really treat to have you with us. As Sue said, this is a really special tree, so if there's a chance that you or others can volunteer to help us protect this species, we'd be really grateful for that.